Baseball family, welcome to the Thursday Night Live episode of the Baseball Together podcast. My name is Brad, and as always, well, I guess not always because that hasn't been the case the last couple weeks.
Yeah, baby. Brad is back
I'm,
in the
I'm
house.
back, and I'm here with
Oh,
our guy
yeah.
Brig, who was holding things down for what felt like a good long while. Let's be
Right,
honest.
I held it right underwater, just enough to until the bubbles stop bubbling.
Well, that's not what I meant by hold it down, man. If that's what you were doing.
I'm just kidding.
But how are you, Brig?
Sometimes I'm okay. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. 6:30 my time. It snuck up on me to the point that I haven't even opened my drink. So, there we go.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I was not ready. I was doing other things, toying around with some stuff, trying to get ready. And
Yep.
so I'm going to put it in my cup, and I'll officially be ready here in about 30 seconds. But before we get officially ready, let's tell the people about Chinook Seeds. Brig, I went on a road trip last week.
Mm.
We took 2 days to get up to Colorado from Phoenix. And you know what I was munching on almost the entire way? Chinook
Sunflower
Seeds!
seeds. Yeah, baby.
Oh, yeah. From Chinook Seedery, you can too. Go to ChinookSeedery.com, use code BTPOD to save 10% on your order. They truly are the best seeds ever. I was blowing through those things like a buzzsaw, Brig. And sometimes when I was just sitting there at the cabin or the house, wherever we were staying, and we were in Breckenridge, it was
Oh,
just a good
I
little
didn't know
snack.
you were going to Breckenridge. Fancy pants.
Yeah, it was. Brig, there's a lot of people in a completely different tax bracket than me up there. Let's just say that.
Oh yeah. No, I have been to Breckenridge. I think I went to Breckenridge once and slept in my car.
if you
That's
know, if it
how I did
wasn't
Breckenridge.
if it wasn't a family get together, that's probably what we'd have been doing.
Yep. Yes,
Bring the
indeed.
air beds. We're sleeping in the bed of the truck. Kids can
That's
sleep in.
right. He's exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah. It was a good time though. It was fun. It was really fun. But we're back. Glad to be back. I'll tell you this, man. I'm happy to be out of the altitude because
Different.
I'm out of shape, but it was next level there. Like walking up
Yeah.
a flight of stairs, I get to the top. They're like, my wife, be like, can you go grab this for me? Like, not in the next 5 minutes. I can't. Give
No,
me,
it's over
give me some
there.
time.
Where is
Give me
it?
some time. Yeah. But it was a good time, and I was eating Chinook seeds the entire time. Again, you can too by going to ChinookSeedery.com. Use the code BTPOD. It helps out the show, helps out your wallet, and ultimately it helps out your mouth because they truly are the best seeds ever. All right, let's get into some stuff because there are some
Hold on. Can
things.
we
Oh,
just
go ahead.
acknowledge for a minute that we know Brad's back because the live music worked when you did it? Baseball family, if you were here last week, you'll know that I was like kind of shimmying and shaking a little bit. And if you turn the volume up really loud during the quiet part at the beginning of last week, you can hear it pumping a little bit through my headphones. That's it, though. I don't know what button Brad pushed that was different, but I thought I pressed it.
That's so funny.
Anyway,
All right, so there's some things going on. I was tracking things while I was at a family event, and some of those things are hit by pitches. Brig, guys are getting thrown
oh,
at again. I feel like we went a little spell where it like wasn't okay anymore, right?
yeah.
Where it was like, hey, just don't do it. You can't throw at the pitchers anymore. The batters want to be able to live their lives and play the game and have fun and everything. Just don't throw at them for showboat and stuff. But we're back. It seems like, right?
Seems something, or is it because of showboating, or is it something different?
I think it's something different, to be honest. We'll get
Okay,
into it
good,
in
because
just a
I
minute.
think so too.
So today, Vlad Guerrero Jr. was hit in the forearm in the third inning of a game against Cleveland's baseball club. It was in the top half of the inning. He ended up leaving the game in the bottom. He took his base and everything, but he ended up leaving the game in the bottom half of the inning. And then you get to the bottom of the fourth inning. They waited. Kevin Gausman waited. With the first pitch at the bottom of the fourth inning, he hit Jose Ramirez in the ribs. Brig, he didn't miss. He hit him
No,
in the
no.
ribs.
Yeah.
He was replaced after the inning was over.
Yep.
Both dugouts were warned after J. Ram was hit. Now, this is a few days after somewhat of a beanball war broke out between the Dodgers and the Padres.
Yeah, it was.
Right? Like,
That was a
Tatis got
big
hit.
deal. We
Otani
talked
got
about that
hit.
a little bit on Tuesday, but yeah.
Yeah, like, it's... And those two teams, I can kind of see it, right? Especially if Tatis is going to get hit because he's the guy for San Diego, right?
He's the guy you're going to
But
hit if you're going to hit anybody.
well, yeah. And
It
for whatever reason, whether it's showboating or you want to
That's
start
why.
something or right, like
It
he
doesn't
has
always
all the
have to be
reasons to get
because he's
hit.
performing well, right? He might just be the default guy. He's like,
He could be rubbing somebody the wrong way. They could still be upset
yeah,
about the PEDs. There could be a lot of reasons Tatis is getting hit,
yeah,
or just the fact that I read that article you sent me. Tom Verducci pointed out the fact that the dude, and this is, I did the same thing when I hit. You start open and you close, and it gets
you
you a
close
little
up.
bit more over the plate. Yeah,
Yep,
I always did it because I was bailing, like as like a 14-year-old, I was bailing on curveballs. So I did that so I would stop, and it worked. I
yep, that's
did
right.
though, Brig, get hit more though,
Of
and it
course.
eventually led to me getting hit in the head. And so
Yep.
like it's a real thing that happens, and you see more guys starting open and closing, and I feel like that does get you hit more. But anyway, I I want your take on this real quick before we get
All
too
right.
much into this because, like, I have a question on the sheet. Are we reverting? Is this stupid? I want to know what you think about what's going on here.
You know, so I got into this a little bit on Tuesday, and I think Verducci makes a couple of great points. I don't think it's necessarily that we're reverting. I think more so to the point is that pitchers are brought up younger and younger, less and less experience, less feel, hyper focus on spin rate, velo, etc. What they end up doing is, bringing up, I don't want to say immature arms, but that less mature maybe than we've seen ever historically. And that's apparent in the injury rate. It's apparent in the hit by pitch rates. It's apparent in a number of ways. But for me, what it comes down to is there's Verducci makes a good point about there being he calls it an epidemic. It's a problem. It has become at least a systemic problem, and it's league wide. Um, there are hot spots where pitchers get hurt more, like LA. They get hurt more, and so they're rushing guys up faster and with a greater level of intensity. So what the I don't know what the answer is, but there are two key problems. The first was the first is the arms, right? We don't want to get guys don't need to be injured. They need more time to mature and develop, which means velo might go down, which is bad, which is good because if you're an offensive or defensive mindset, whatever, there's that argument. But then when guys get hit by a pitch, they end careers or they end seasons or they diminish capabilities. And you know, let's take a guy like J Ram, okay? I think we can all agree that he's on his way to being one of the greatest third basemen of all time. He's one of the
Mm-hmm.
most consistent performers. He's one of the most seasoned influences in any of the clubhouses we've seen, and it's always. I know I'm getting long winded here, but it's always as though about this time every year, about end of June, mid June, end of June, we have to realize that we had been sleeping on J Ram, and so for a guy like that to get hit midway through the season like this, when he peaks, and he does it every year, it's like you can't lose a guy like that. We can't lose an Otani to a hit by pitch. We can't lose Brother Harper to being hit by a pitch. Corbin Carroll
Mm-hmm.
can't get out because he got hit by a pitch. You know what I mean? And now that's the
Yeah.
situation we're in. It's a problem.
It is, and one of the things that you brought up was the number of guys. So something I thought was really interesting in that Verducci article, he said just short of halfway through this season, MLB teams have already used more pitchers than in the 141 entire seasons between 1874 and 2014. He said,
Yep.
just think about this when you want to understand how fast the game has changed. Teams have used more pitchers less than halfway through this season than they did the entire season 11 years ago, 709 compared to 692. And we're at the end of June.
Yeah, I
And
know.
so I think part of it is a development issue. Part of it is um, because one of the things anytime I talk about expansion, my concern is always pitching. The pitching is going to get watered down,
Yep.
right? Like good bullpen arms are hard enough to come by now. Imagine what it's going to be like when you have two more teams and you got to have
That's right.
what 26 more pitchers in the league, right?
Well, just in the
Like,
league, not let alone the
well,
entire
that yeah,
development system.
I know it's crazy to think about. So, kids, if you want to
Yeah,
make it
it
to the bigs,
explodes.
start pitching. Like you, your chances are going to get better here in a few years. But
Yeah.
But one of the things that Verducci pointed out too is that its sinkers and cutters are like the vast majority of what guys are getting hit on, and
Yeah.
I can kind of speak to that because I pitched one time in my life, and my coach was watching. And he's like, "Hey, your arm action, your wrist, the way you're holding the ball." He's like, "Something." He's like, "That ball's cutting." He's like, "So throw it at the batter, it'll break over the plate." It did every single time except for one. I hit this kid
Right.
square in the back, and after the game, and I didn't even know this kid who I hit after the game. My mom's like, "Did you hit that kid on purpose?" I was like, "No." My dad's like, sometimes that ball doesn't break. And that's exactly what it is. Sometimes it doesn't break. So if they're trying to get a cutter or sinker in on your hands, because that's where you as a hitter are least effective, sometimes that ball's not going to break and you're going to get hit. And when it's coming in at 95, 100 miles an hour
Yeah.
and it hits your hand, you're going to break a
Yeah.
bone.
That's the problem. If it hits you if you can turn away and you catch it in the upper back or below the shoulder blade, then that's one thing. Still not great. Nobody likes it. It sucks for everybody. But if you get hit on that hamate bone right here,
Dude,
or if you take it in the elbow,
that
like there are
hurts. Oh,
some
that's why you see
serious.
so many guys with elbow guards, though, is because it's going to hurt on the elbow. It's going to hurt less on the elbow guard. But the hand sucks. Everybody should
Yeah,
have
it
a hand guard,
sucks.
I feel like.
Yep.
Because I don't think
Yep.
there's any getting your hand out of the way on a 100 mile an hour fastball, 100 mile an hour
Nope.
cutter or sinker.
Nope. I agree.
It's just not going to happen.
I
And I
agree.
think that's really what it is. It's just pitchers are coming more inside with cutters and sinkers,
Yep.
and they don't always do what they're supposed to do.
Right.
I don't think it's necessarily a lack of control thing. It may be a lack of consistency thing because you get guys like the reason that Max Scherzer, Jacob DeGrom, Justin Verlander, the reason those guys are so good is because they're so consistent with their pitches,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
Like even up and coming
And
guys
when
like
their
George
velo
Kirby,
goes down,
the reason that they talk about why these guys are so good is Kirby has exceptional command. That he's like, that people have said that he's like Greg Maddux with velocity. That
yeah.
instead of dotting the corners with 85, 90, he's dotting the corners with 95, 97, right?
Right.
And so
That's what Skeens
there
is
are,
doing.
yes, yeah, Skeens. He's another guy, right? I don't know
He's
why
a,
I forgot about
yeah.
him briefly,
No, it's okay.
but yeah. But not everybody's like them. Not everybody has that kind of control. Joe Kelly has gone on the record saying, when I throw the ball, I don't know where it's going.
Yeah. Right. Who else said
And
that? Was it Bob Gibson that said that? He's like, I think it's going where I want it to go. I don't know. You
yeah, I
just need
think
to
he
get out of the
probably
way,
did.
though. Something like
Well,
that.
didn't
He
he say he
also
couldn't
maybe kind
see
of
too,
wanted
and
you
that's
to
why he
die a
was
little bit.
squinting?
Yeah,
Didn't he?
yeah,
Didn't
he
he
was
say he's
blind.
squinting because he couldn't
He
see?
couldn't see anything. That's right.
Yeah.
But he
Needed
was
the.
just mean enough to think maybe he didn't have to worry about you ever again either. So that was
That's true. Yeah, he could hold a grudge. But no, it's really interesting. I don't think it's all intentional. Like obviously Otani getting hit, J Ram getting hit, those were intentional. But I think that teams need to be like, guys just get hit by pitches. Whether it's Tatis, um, whether it's Vlad, whoever, like guys just get hit by pitches sometimes.
Yep.
And I don't think Major League Baseball even needs to crack down on it. I think that if something as blatant as what Gosman did to J Ram, maybe be like, yeah, you're gonna sit out your next start.
Yeah.
But
Just and maybe send some candy over to the dugout or something. Just say, "Oh, okay.
yeah,
I'm sorry, I
yeah,
had to. Here's some
I don't know.
flowers.
Because
Don't do
I don't
that.
like
That's a
guys.
joke. That's a joke."
Because I'm not a big fan of the beanball war, but at the same time, though, I think that it's just baseball has gotten to a point where it's throw as hard as you can, and it's not always going to go where you want it to.
Yeah, I think so. And it sucks.
It does suck. It's crappy because we lost Julio for 6 weeks. I think it was last year, 2 years ago, because he broke
Yeah,
his hand.
I don't like it.
But say love you. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Jeremy Pena for a little bit because this is really interesting. So he recently switched his agent. Well, fired his agent because that's what you do, and he hired Scott Boras, Scotty B. He is
Scotty
now
B.
a Boras guy.
Yeah.
Guess who else on his team was a Boras guy?
Tell me.
I believe it's Jose Altuve.
I was gonna say, I believe he can't ride that ride, and yeah, that's exactly what it is.
He might not be able to. I was very
Must be this
confident. I'll be
tall
honest
to
with you,
be
Brig.
here.
I was very confident in that like 30 seconds ago, but then like my confidence slowly like dipped, and he is a Boris guy. So Jose
Yeah, I was
Altuve
gonna
is a
say
Boris guy.
it's absolutely Jose Altuve. Yeah.
It is 100%. So, but this is the thing that's interesting about this to me is that not long ago, the Astros and Jeremy Pena were in conversations around a 5 year, $105 million plus deal
Yeah.
extension. They're going to buy out his
Yeah.
arbitration years. They're coming up. That would get him into the first couple years of free agency. Um, and by the way, he's having the best year of his career so far. He
Which is
this year he's
crazy.
in because he's good, man. He's
Hmm.
earning $4.1 million this season, but he's slashing 325, 380, 495 coming into Thursday. He is eligible for free agency in 2028. I think this changes everything with Scott Boras now. They're not going to get the extension. The only question to me now is he as good as gone, or are they going to figure it out unlike they did with Bregman and Correa and Springer?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how long do you want to go down that list? Yeah, I think because is it Correa that's a Scotty B client too, or was
Yeah,
at that time?
Bregman too,
Yeah,
right?
it's I think yeah, I is he as good as gone? It's really hard to say. Why would they move away from that guy? Also, really hard to say. Also, could have applied that to some of those other names. So, who knows what's going on in Houston? I have no idea.
This is my thought on it. So Bregman is a Boris guy. Springer is not, but
No, but Correa was, right?
Correa, yeah. But my thing with this is that they better find their shortstop of the future and start developing him like tomorrow, because
Yeah.
they're gonna want him to be ready by the time Pena hits free agency, because
Yep.
you're either gonna need to trade away a prospect or have the next guy in line.
Yep. And they did that when
So
Correa left. They had the next guy in line, and that was
right,
Pena.
yeah,
So it's
exactly.
possible. It's possible.
Maybe they become like a pipeline of shortstops, right? Like there's certain places that have pitching, certain places have outfielders, and
Yep.
Houston, like if you're a shortstop, you get drafted. That is the highest compliment
Yeah.
because that's what
Yeah.
they're gonna
Yeah.
need.
Yeah, we picked you. We really did pick you. Kind of
Yeah,
like if you're a pitcher and you get picked up by the Rays, right? We're like, okay, good,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
nice.
exactly right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yep. Well, and Seattle, they see something in you. You might not be worth a darn yet, but they see something. They're gonna figure it out. One real quick funny thing about the Astros this week, they played a three-game series about the Phillies, or about with the Phillies. Played a three-game series with the Phillies, and over those three games, they outscored the Phillies by a score of 4-1.
wow,
Swept them and
wow,
won the series, four
that's
runs to one
crazy.
run over the course of three games.
That's that is ridiculous. That should never happen.
The thing that's funny about that is that like yes, Houston has great pitching. Needless to say, the Phillies are going through it despite having taken over first place in the East. Um,
Yeah,
but I feel like the Astros are going through it, only scoring four runs in three games against that struggling Phillies pitching.
yeah.
Like,
The Yankees are going through it too. Like, I think the Yankees have scored 4 runs in the last 12 games or something like that. It's not that bad, but it sure feels that way.
they are going through it though. They're going through it. And Brig,
Yeah,
we
no,
haven't even reached the doldrums yet. We haven't even reached the dog days of the summer.
dude, I
And
know.
yikes.
But you know what? If you're gonna hit your bad stretch, now's as good a time as any. Work it
It's
out,
true.
figure it out, especially before the deadline. Like if something's really if the writing's on the wall in one way or the other, just do it now, right? That's a good time.
You're right, because there's no worse thing than being like, yeah, we're good through the deadline. Like, we'll make a deal, but if the right one isn't there, then we're all right. Right? And then you hit August 2nd, and there it goes.
Mm.
It's like,
Oh, and
ooh, we should have made a
then
deal.
you take that 12 to 20 game stretch everybody goes through.
Yeah. August is the
20's a
worst time
lot.
to have that. August,
Yeah.
September. Oof. Yuck. Speaking of the
Yeah.
Yankees, let's move on to the Yankees. Jazz Chisholm was ejected in a 5-4 loss to the Reds. This is really interesting to me. So on the top of the ninth, umpire Lyon Richardson, great name by the way, called a low 2-0 pitch a strike on Jazz. He was not happy about it. Took exception after striking out. Argued after, maybe as he's leaving the box. And then after the third out, Aaron Judge escorted him to third base, probably to ensure that he didn't get ejected in a tie game, right?
Yep. That was the goal.
After the game, Jazz says he was talking to himself, which he must have drawn the attention of Richardson, because Jazz looked over at the umpire and said to him, "Why are you looking at me?" And then,
what are you looking at?
He got rung. He got run.
Yeah.
But he said, "Why are you looking at me?" Like,
yeah, no, I know.
And it just feels like one of those things where the umpire's looking for a reason. It's late. Yeah. We're about to go to extras. I had a dinner reservation. I want to go home and go to bed. I'm pissy. I'm just gonna run one guy to make my Is that what that feels like to you? Because that's certainly what it feels like to me.
In the moment, it did. It was like, why? And this happened a couple of times in games recently where the umpires just decided it was, it was their day. It was the day they were had a bad attitude, and so they're just kicking guys out for no reason.
Well, it's
like the Jaron Duran thing is that I talked about on Tuesday. It's the same thing. It was like, why he's not allowed to say forget that? Like, I disagree. Yeah. He's allowed to say forget that. No harm is going to come from him.
In high school.
Yes, he's walking back to the dugout. It's not a personal attack. Same with Jazz. It's not a personal attack, right? He's not using the words you don't use with umpires. Okay. It's not that. It's just they're expressing displeasure, or maybe it's some self-talk that's out loud or whatever. Let it ride, man. Yeah. It's not about you.
Yeah. I was at the game here in Phoenix when the Mariners were in town, where CB Buckner was behind the plate. I noticed that before it was like 2 pitches in. I was like, oh, crap, here we go. Yeah, and I told everybody, like, hey, just so you guys know, CB Buckner is behind the plate. It's not going to go well. Just so everybody knows. We're like, okay, cool. But so
true.
Between one inning, there's one time between innings where Cal Raleigh was a little late getting out to help whoever was warming up at the time. I can't remember who it was, to take his warm-up pitches, and he told him, like, nope, next one goes down. He's like, well, and there was plenty of time. I remember being like, what the heck is going on? Because I didn't know what they were looking at, but I remember seeing specifically on the clock there was plenty of time, right? Mm-hmm. And Dan Wilson came out with screaming at CB to try to keep Cal from getting ejected and everything. And it took more time for CB Buckner to yell at both of them and to get everything settled back down than it would have taken for the pitcher to take, I think it was Jackson Coar, to take like 2 more pitches, warm-up pitches.
Right. Yep.
Because he had already been in the game. It's not like he was getting 8, he was getting 5.
Right, exactly.
It was unreal, and it's just one of those ego trips where CB Buckner is just like, nope, you took too long. I don't know. And he's like the new Angel Hernandez, but maybe worse, and it's awful. But anyway.
Oh, man, we don't have time for that. We do not have time for that.
Oh, real quick, welcome, Twitch Taylor. It's good to see you.
Oh, yeah. One day you got to tell us who you are, Twitch Taylor. We're just
someday. But baseball family, if you like what we're doing, head over to patreon.com or hit the link in the description. There's always a link in the description. You can support the show. We have 5 tiers of support. Go check those out. All from $1 all the way up to a comically large $500 a month of support. Let's do the national TV schedule for the weekend real quick. Brig, Friday, MLB TV free game of the day. Got the Marlins at the Diamondbacks. That's 9:40 p.m. All times are Eastern that we will share with you. And then Apple TV, you have the Rays at the Orioles at 7:05, and the Cards at Cleveland's Baseball Club at 7:10 p.m.
Saturday, MLB TV's free game of the day will be the Athletics, the Sacramento Athletics. They will be in the Boogie Down facing the Yankees at 1:05. FS1 will have Seattle playing at Texas, 4:05. And Fox on Saturday night will be 7:15. Check your local listings. You're either going to get the Cubs in Houston or you're going to get the Phillies in Atlanta.
By the way, if you want to see a top 100 prospect probably make his debut this weekend, Mitch Garver got injured, and the Mariners brought Harry Ford down to Arlington.
You have been okay. I'll watch that. I'll watch that.
Oh yeah,
because you've been pimping Harry Ford for
all hail Sir Harry.
Yeah, you have been
There's a
so
good
excited.
chance he's making his debut this weekend, and I cannot wait.
Okay.
So,
All right.
anyway, Sunday MLB TV free game of the day is the Mariners at the Rangers. So there, you got a couple chances there to watch the Mariners play. Watch Harry Ford potentially play. That game
Yeah.
is at 2:35 p.m. and then your Roku game is the Cards at Cleveland at 12:05 p.m. and then your ESPN Sunday night game is the Twins at the Tigers at 7:10 p.m. These are our series to watch this weekend. If we were going to games this weekend, these are the games we would go to, and we would use SeatGeek to get our tickets. You can too by heading to SeatGeek.com and using code BaseballTogether to save $20 on your first order. That's baseball together, one word, at SeatGeek.com to get your tickets to the biggest games this weekend and anytime. SeatGeek, the official ticket marketplace of MLB and Brig. I use SeatGeek to buy tickets to college football games, NFL games, NBA games, concerts, all of it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And did you know that people can save $20 no matter what?
I knew.
Funsies. My series to watch this weekend, obviously, I have the Mariners and the Rangers. Got much more watchable this afternoon, with the Garver injury to potentially see Harry Ford make his debut. I'm intrigued by the Cubs and Astros after watching the Cubs pitch against the Mariners or not. I don't know exactly. I'm curious how it's going to go against Houston, and then the Cards and Cleveland's baseball club. That is an interesting series to me as well. What about you?
Yeah, cards and guards. Blah, blah, blah. Cleveland and St. Louis is really interesting. Obviously, I'm watching the Yankees, and then we just talked about Mariners, Rangers. Going to be interesting. San Diego, Cincinnati. I would not have thought was interesting until I watched Cincinnati beat up on the Yankees, and now I'm thinking, okay, so now I'm going to watch the Reds to see was it a product of the slumping Yankees, or have they found it a little bit? And if they have, then we'll know when they play San Diego. Um, Dodgers Royals, that's really interesting. The Royals are going to have to kind of prove themselves a little bit more. And then Phillies Braves, dude, that is solid watch time. Phillies Braves.
Surprised anybody playing the Braves is solid these days.
Okay, but hold on. They're maybe starting to turn it around. Maybe.
I can't. I'll check in when they get to 500. How's that?
Well, they took
That's
two
what I'll
out of
do.
4. They split the series against the Mets. So I don't know. But then they lost to the Marlins. I don't know. Who knows, dude.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Talk to
they
me when they get
swept
to
the Mets
500. How's
before
that?
that, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I can't buy it. I can't buy the Braves. I want to. I want to, Brig. But
I think that's where
Acuna
it is.
is.
I want to.
By the way, Ronald Acuna Jr. did say that he's going to be in on the home run derby in Atlanta.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that as it progresses, but yes, I
Yeah, we
think that's
will.
the right answer for a lot of reasons. We'll talk about that.
Yep.
Maybe Sunday, maybe Tuesday. I don't know.
All right, let's end with this. Today in baseball history, June the 26th, 2003, Edgar Martinez hits a two-run homer versus the Angels, giving him 1,153 RBIs as a Mariner. That's one more than Ken Griffey Jr.'s then franchise record. Before that day, Edgar had already held the Mariners' franchise records for games played, at-bats, hits, doubles, total bases, extra base hits, walks, and runs scored.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing, but it makes sense because he was a Mariner lifer,
Yep.
and his entire career pretty much he was batting like middle up, right? Like after Junior
Yeah.
left, I think he was batting 3, and so he's gonna get a lot of at bats. But I saw this and I went and looked, and so Junior actually ended his Mariners career with I want to say 12, like 12, 16 or something like that, RBIs, because he came back for that short stint.
Yeah, he did. That's right.
But I also looked at Edgar's numbers, and he led the league in doubles several times, RBIs several times. Like in '95,
He kept it.
he finished third for MVP, which is
Yeah,
wild.
he kept it up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, isn't that
absolutely.
wild?
It truly is. Like it's so crazy to look at some of those guys' numbers, like especially like Edgar, who somebody is like I knew about him, right? I watched
Right.
him all the time, But the fact that it took him so long to get in the Hall of Fame just blew my mind because I feel like a lot of people just weren't aware exactly what was going on.
Right.
But
I agree.
I don't know. Anyway, baseball family, don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, review everywhere that you can. If you're on YouTube right now, go ahead and hit the subscribe, go ahead and like, because that helps us out a ton. But if you're new, welcome. And we are so glad you're here because there's been a lot of you. So we'll catch you next week.